How does a show, with no real goal, is as predictable as any Marvel movie ever made, uses the same plot points every episode, somehow still manage to keep me wanting to watch on every week? Dramatic irony and subversion of expectations. Also, for those interested in telling your own stories, I highly recommend staying till the end of this video, as the points that I'm going to discuss regarding what makes One Punch Man so great are points that you yourself might be able to take advantage of in order to sell your own story in the future, as people who work in TV or Hollywood aren't looking to take on stories or concepts that have already been seen, but rather the stories or concepts that have never been seen. Take for example Marvel Studios, who over the last few years have been suffering from a massive decline in viewership and box office, as the formula they've been pumping out to the public hasn't changed since the first Iron Man movie they released in 2008. And frankly, people are just bored of the same recycled movies being pushed out, regardless of whether or not they change the characters or scenery every once in a while. However, One Punch Man doesn't suffer from this problem, as it's new. It experiments with a concept and method of storytelling which has never been seen before, a major selling point for creator One, who in 2012 had his series go mainstream.
You say you do this for fun? For fun! How dare you confront Mother Earth's apostle for such a mindless reason? Yet what can be expected from a hero?
Not again. All it took was one punch.
Damn it!
In many anime or mangas, often the goal of the protagonist is simple: to become the strongest character in their respective universe. Naruto wants to become Hokage, Luffy wants to be the Pirate King, Deku wants to be the #1 hero, the list goes on. But what happens the day these heroes do eventually fulfill that purpose? What's next? Well, this is the question that One Punch Man creator One attempts to answer through the character of Saitama. What happens once the protagonist of the story becomes the strongest in said story? Well, naturally one would assume that the story in question would have to come to an end, as what else is there for us as an audience to learn or explore? We already know how every battle or conflict is going to turn out, so what's the point? Well, maybe there isn't a point. Perhaps the answer to the show's dramatic question is nothing. Well, okay, so if nothing really happens, why do millions still tune in to watch the show? Well, that's simple. Because we've never seen nothing before. We've never seen a character defeat a monster responsible for the death of hundreds, and then complain they only took him a single punch. One Punch Man is new. It takes all of the tropes, stereotypes and generic storytelling methods commonly used in anime and manga, and has created something new. It's a show that doesn't focus on the protagonist as much as it does the side character or villains. Take for example Genos and Garo, two characters who are constantly engaging in battles just as grandiose as the protagonists, however are nowhere near Saitama's level, therefore we have no idea as to how these fights are going to play out. Quick side note, when I said a moment ago that One Punch Man was a show about nothing, I sorta lied. It's a show about a man afraid to lose his humanity, who then meets a younger man similar to himself, desperately trying to cling on to what's left of his. It's a show about redefining what it truly means to be a hero, about how sometimes we might have to sacrifice what we want in order to protect those around us who give us no praise for our hard work. It's a show about obsession, and how those attempting to achieve godlike power may lose bits of their humanity in the process. It's a show about self-discovery, and finding purpose in the simplicities of life. Bit of a rant there, I know, but just wanted to make that point clear, as no show is ever truly about nothing, regardless of what me or anybody else might tell you. One Punch Man also utilises something called dramatic irony a lot when it comes to his battles, and also characters' opinions of one another. Which for those who don't know, dramatic irony is essentially where the audience or reader possesses knowledge about a situation or character's actions that the characters within the story do not. Take for example the scene where Saitama effortlessly defeats the Deep Sea King with a single punch. We as an audience know that this is possible, as we've seen Saitama defeat monsters or heroes of a greater calibre before. However, the majority of characters in the One Punch Man universe have not, therefore Saitama is heckled for showing up late, and easily taking out the monster whilst he was weak. This lack of acknowledgement regarding Saitama and his true power is also used as a sort of device, which allows for what should be fairly short battles to go on for longer than expected, as the character isn't able to simply just call Saitama to battle and have him end it in one punch, as barely anybody knows that he's capable of such a feat, allowing other heroes like Tatsumaki, Bang and Genos to shine. The flip side to this being that villains also aren't able to just kill or spare half the cast without it seeming unnatural. There's a lot of problems I've noticed in many animes and mangas, is that often a villain might make up a poor excuse as to why he doesn't kill the heroes. However, this problem doesn't exist in the world of One Punch Man, as it isn't illogical for Saitama to just randomly appear and save the day in a single punch, very similar to how he stopped the Deep Sea King right before murdering Genos and Numen Rider. Subverting expectations also goes hand in hand with this as well, as in the very same scene, we as an audience are left to assume that Saitama is finally going to be recognised for the all-powerful hero he is. However, one member of the public quickly points out that Saitama is only a Class C hero, and therefore the Deep Sea King was either incredibly weak, or the heroes who battled him prior had weakened him to a point where all it would take to defeat him was a single punch. And in an attempt to preserve the hero association and the funding it gets from the public, Saitama admits to being a fraud who takes credit for the other heroes' work. A little insight into not only One Punch Man's politics, but also Saitama's understanding of what it means to be a true hero.
Hero やっているものだ。助けを呼ぶ声聞こえたぜ水流。よく一人で耐えたな。あとは任せとけ。
Now, as mentioned at the start of the video, I stated that Saitama doesn't really have a true goal, which to an extent is true, as Saitama's external goal of being the strongest superhero was already achieved prior to the pilot episode of the show. However, King later sets Saitama a new goal, this time an internal challenge to overcome, which is for Saitama to learn what it means to be the greatest hero, rather than merely the strongest one. As stated in K.M. Weiland's book on character arcs, a hero is somebody who puts themselves out there and gives up something major or personal, often their own life, in order to achieve a goal, or save somebody else. Take for example the scene in Spider-Man 2, where Spider-Man risks his life and identity in an attempt to stop a train crash, which would result in the deaths of everybody on board. This scene is a very heroic scene, as Spider-Man sacrifices his identity, something he keeps hidden to protect those he loves, in an attempt to save a group of strangers. However, in the case of Saitama, an act like this just isn't simply possible, as never is he able to place himself in harm's way for the benefit of others, simply because he's indestructible. So the question Saitama now needs to ask himself is not how can he become a greater hero, but is it truly possible for him to become a hero at all? And if so, how? Now the actual answer to this question, or the question itself, actually has nothing to do with what makes One Punch Man so great. It's just an internal goal Saitama sets out to achieve. However, the reason I bring it up is relatability, as the reason many people stick with a certain show or movie is not entirely because of how entertaining or educational it might be, but because they're able to relate to the main character and their struggles. Now, I'm sure many of you might be asking yourself, well, how is it possible for us to relate to an all-powerful character whose endless abilities have just become so boring, nothing is challenging anymore? Well, take for example the job you work. Perhaps you're an engineer who spent 10 years honing your craft, and now you're so good at what you do, engineering has both become tedious and unchallenging. However, despite that fact, you still have to do it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for the next God knows how many years. And this is a conflict that Saitama is facing, as he too has become so good at his craft that it's now just become boring. What you were at one stage in your life so dead set on achieving has now just become nothing, as you simply aren't working towards anything, because you've seemingly already achieved everything you set out to do. The joy is in the journey, not the destination. One Punch Man also does a very good job at teasing all that we believe we want to see, and then snatching it out from under us right before it takes place, essentially keeping us waiting for something we know will never happen. And what I mean by this is that, well, at least myself, want to see the other heroes recognise Saitama for the all-powerful hero he is. However, just before instances occur where one might find out about Saitama's true power, something or somebody intervenes, and we're never given the satisfaction we believe will arise from Saitama finally being acknowledged as the greatest hero. Take for example the scene in Season 1, where Tatsumaki, a powerful but spoilt brat we want to see put in a place, almost comes blows to blows with Saitama, before the two are interrupted by Bang. It's a moment which brings us ever so close to Saitama finally getting the respect he deserves for all the monsters he's defeated, and also a little bit of, let's call it revenge, for how poorly he was treated by all of the S-Class heroes in the Hero HQ. However, just like real life, we all want to be recognised for how good we are at certain skills. However, the harsh truth is that the majority of the time people just don't care enough to notice anybody's achievements outside of their own. Another example of Saitama being a character we can all in some way relate to. And also another example of a storytelling technique used in One Punch Man, which keeps audiences tuned in every week.
Aspire to be a distinguished hero like me.
Overall, I believe One Punch Man works, simply because it's different. It takes on a challenge, and attempts to answer a question that we as an audience have pondered for quite some time. If I were to give somebody advice when it came to telling their own story, I would honestly just tell them to be different. Experiment with something that has never been experimented with before. Don't just picture scenes or have a certain ending in mind. See where the characters take you, and often you'll find yourself somewhere unexpected. Anyway, I just want to thank you all so much for watching. If you stayed till the end of the video, you honestly have no idea how much I appreciate you. You people are what's helping this channel grow. Please make sure to like, subscribe and turn on post notifications, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.